All right, back at it. How you doing this morning, everyone? Just getting my coffee gear all together. I've got that new bag of specialty coffee, the Gold Honey, the sun-dried. They leave residue around the bean. They let it ferment for several days in the sun, and then they wash off all of that stuff, and then they dry it in the sun, and then they roast it. It's a lot of different things. Just the thing to remember, that this is the fermented coffee. Toro Negro, Puerto Rico. So we will, I'll again, like every time I've had this, I will link it in the description below where you can get it if you are interested, plus several other different coffees that they offer that are not as extreme as some people would think this is. That did not, yeah, that did, yeah, that did not go through. One moment. Never had to threaten coffee at knife point before. Okay, so hopefully the zipper still works. And this thing just... Okay, looks like the zipper still works. All right, so that's good news. Well, wait, hang on. Hang on. Where is the zipper? Uh-oh. All right. Boy, this bag has all kinds of problems here. What? Oh. Okay, well, again, one moment. I've got this nice Fresh Saver for the coffee. We will just, when the time comes, pour it in there. And this little thing will press all the air out as it gets to the top layer of coffee, and we'll keep the air out, and in theory, and should be fine. But yeah, that's a little disappointing, but it's fine. It happens, no problem. Okay, pour over time. Heated water. That would help. That would help the entire process. Okay, so we'll do 32 grams of coffee in there. What a weird number. Yes, it is. Iran. Whoa, 38. That was a jump. Was there a fat bean in there or something? I guess I'll just... Bamf. Okay. It must have been a really fat bean. That seems like a huge jump with the... All right. Exactly what I was looking for. Perfect. And then we'll add the rest of those back in there in a moment. 32. Iran, I don't know if I just said this or not. Iran, a medium roast, flavorless coffee, just regular coffee without any added flavors through here twice in order to kind of cleanse the butterscotch caramel flavor that was in there. So let's get this blitzed up, and I did it on a high setting, so we're gonna take this down about medium fine. I'd say that's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, probably. Around about. Perfect. Marvelous. All right, and what we got? Yep, didn't lose too much in the translation. That's good. Let's pour it up in here. Again, wonderful. Little bit of static. To be expected. It's just how it works. Okay. Wanna think about it? Thank you for thinking about it. All right. Beautiful. 32 grams of this wonderful honey processed coffee. There's no honey involved. It's just sticky like honey. Bear that in mind. There's no honey involved. It just gives it a more complex flavor of coffee, and it is delicious, so I can't fault that. So Vieques. So we did our day, I guess, half a day overnight, half a day in Old San Juan. Enjoyed our time. It was great. And then we got on a plane. The very definition of a puddle jumper, even though it did across the Caribbean Sea. But we got on a plane, four-seater, four-passenger, technically a four-seater, so two facing the back of the plane and two facing the front of the plane. We were sitting in the middle facing the back of the plane for weight distribution. And then we had two wonderful ladies, one from Brazil and the other one from Spain, who had been together for a while. And they flew over with us. Wonderful people. The lady from Spain was a Spanish teacher. So I got to dazzle her with my D- Spanish, which she laughed at, which was absolutely wonderful. So that was a great time flying over. I'll show some pictures. I'll show the flights. We got a couple different angles and whatnot. The surprise was we were walking out, and I was under the impression that it was going to be like a six to eight seater, because they had two of those sitting out on the runway, and I'm like, okay, well, that's great. So we started walking towards those, and then the lady that was guiding us to the plane took a sharp right, and we were in front of this single prop engine four-seater. And it was absolutely fantastic. The flight over was so fun. I'd never been in one of those ever. Hopefully we will go back to Vieques and do it all over again, and we'll be privileged with another flight in a four-seater like that. But it was just a fun thing. Taking off and then coming in for the landing was very up and down and kind of side to side, as you know, the wind shear from the Caribbean Sea came in and the airport was more or less had its back to the water. So there was a tree line breaking. Oh, hang on. I really don't want water to splash in there. I must have put too much in. Oh well, that's okay. So so we land, and then we rent a car. And I'll put the name of the car rental place that we got there. A lot of this was recommended by the place that we were going to stay for 3 nights. It was a beautiful place. Again, I'll put the name of it up. We took a picture of a couple of the signs. Very interesting. The entire ecosystem down there is so interesting. The road situation, again, incredibly interesting. But we got in a van, and the van took us to the car rental place, and we had rented a Kia Soul, rather newer one. Looked like it only had 21,000 miles on it, so it looks like it'd been off lease and then was sold and then brought over to the island. Maybe that was what it was. Some kind of fleet vehicle. The beautiful kind of burnt orange paint scheme that looks really nice on those newer Souls. Pictures. I have a picture of it. I almost forgot to take one. So we get going. We get to the guest house. The tire pressure light comes on. And a little warning comes up for the passenger side, showing that the passenger side front tire had 23 pounds of pressure in it. I think that's good enough. Worrying. The rear one had 27. In contrast, the driver's side front and rear tires had 37 pounds of pressure in them. So we were a little worried, so we took the car back, explained as best we could in broken Spanish to the gentleman who could not speak English, who was their mechanic, passenger side front low air. And he said basically just pointed to have us go in and turn the key, and he saw the numbers and was startled. So he said, no, bring back immediately. All right, so let's get our timer started here. I'm going to put 100 in. We're going to get it wet. We're going to let it bloom for about a minute. I'm going to do 150. Let's do 150. Go wild. Go nuts with your coffee. 150. Okay. So we have that whole thing. Kind enough to, no fuss, no muss, no. Are you sures? The only thing they asked was, how long have you had the car? And we're like, we were just here 2 hours ago. So a lot of things must happen there to where they're so in a zone where they don't really recognize faces because there's so much going on. And there was a lot of in and out there. Let's get this up to about 300. We will let it sit, and then we will add about 150 more. Why not? Boy, that smells so good. So we got that all taken care of. Behind the shop, where they filled up the tires, I saw my first actual live banana tree. Took a picture. Here it is. Very cool. I'm like, look at the giant flower that doesn't look phallic at all. And then the bananas were just all over it, and they were green, which I guess I don't know what their season is. I know that it's mango season down there right now between June and September. Mangoes everywhere. Another story we can talk about in a minute. But all right, so let's get this up to about 450, and then we'll let her drain. This is draining really fast. I wonder if I've done something. Maybe I ground it. No, it's not too fine, and it's not too, it's the middle. It's the middle ground. Oh well. We'll take it off of here. Give it a little bit of swirl, and we'll let her sit. And that was really cool. But then we took off again, and the roads, they were of varying degrees. Anywhere the military had been, the roads were about 6 lanes, no markings on them, just a 6-lane highway basically stretching in a straight line. Where the military didn't have to be, at some point, the roads would visibly go from 2-lane to 1.5 lane to 1 1/3 lane, and then back out to like 1.5 lane. I mean, it was just such a variable thing, and it was just visible because you're like, oh, we're narrowing. Oh, and there was no reason for it. There was so much room on either side to where there could be more pavement to make this a safer experience. There were very few points that we were there for our 6 days where the driving really didn't feel safe. There were some harrowing moments. A lot of them were going back into nature preserves, but we can talk about that as well. I want to talk about the first. We went to a beach. We went to a beach first. It was a very nice, standard, beautiful, gorgeous sun, surf, sand, smelled amazing beach. And then we went back, got a little cleaned up, and then we went to our second beach. And there are about 30 beaches. We visited maybe 5 of them in our time there. We just found ones that we really enjoyed and went back. But there was a beach. Okay, so we've been about 4 minutes, but it only took about 3. It might have taken about 3 minutes. It was a very kind of a quick drawdown, which is a little worrisome. But oh well, we'll let that sit and marinate for a little bit longer. Cool down just a hair. Playa Negra, which is the black sand beach. It's a beach where volcanic sand constantly comes up into that beach, and it's just channeled from somewhere. I don't know where. I'm sure that there's a big scientific thing on it. But it's just black sand. And it's a small section of the beach where all of this sand, the current just draws all this sand in. And it's black, it has magnetic properties. You can run a magnet over it and collect little very fine iron sand pieces. It was just fascinating and beautiful. But the immediate beach was sandy, but once you stepped into the water, there were a lot of rocks. Which made it for us very unpleasant to swim at. So we really didn't swim there. We did walk around a lot and saw a lot of beautiful things, a lot of wonderful nature around there. And that was really nice. The walk there, though, was fascinating because we got to a certain point and we heard this crackling in the leaves. And I'm like, is it raining? Is that rain hitting? And it wasn't. We looked over. A bunch of small crabs were scuttling into the forest area. And again, I got a video of it. It's just fascinating because there were just like a dozen of them just scattered around an area, and they were just scuttling into, and they were the little crabs that we would always see when we were in grade school, the ones with the shells that kind of go upward, and then they kind of just went sideways. It wasn't like a regular crab with two pinchers and a body and feet. They were inside of a shell, and they kind of, it was really cool. And again, I'll show pictures. And then, that was a 15-minute hike through some very treacherous things. The first 10 minutes was fine. And then you get to this area that was just swamp. And it was very swampy, and it was black sand. And on top of all of the standing kind of water that you had to walk over, the fruit trees, the mango trees were dropping fruit. And a lot of it was rotting and fermenting, and it was the most unique smell.
Food horses.
It was such an amazing and unique smell. An interesting nature walk, because you went through a dry riverbed the entire way. And then it opened up and you saw the ocean. And it was very easy to tell that every beach that we visited had vegetation, a road to vegetation, and then you had to kind of crawl through the vegetation in a kind of an open way, in a very obvious way to get to the beach, and then you had the beach area. So that was an amazing, wonderful experience to see this black sand, volcanic sand, coming from somewhere. I mean, I would assume maybe just something under the ocean. Maybe, or maybe an island out there has volcanic activity, and the sand just, I don't know. But it's really beautiful. Unfortunately, you really couldn't swim there, but that's fine. Not a big deal. There were so many beaches to swim at, and we'll talk about more of those tomorrow. But that's kind of like day 1, day 2 in Vieques. The place that we stayed was a wonderful 5-room guest house. We were in the furthest room, and it was very, very comfortable. It served the exact purpose that we wanted, a base to come back, change clothes if we needed to, apply lotion, sun lotion, which we were very good at, by the way. I don't think any of us really got burned really badly. But we would come back and we would sleep, and then we would get up, we would rehydrate, and then we would leave, and then we'd be out all day, and then we'd just come back and reorganize and then go back out. So it was just like the perfect little place to sleep and then go out all day. So, but yeah, it was a wonderful place, and I've got pictures of that. They had just gotten 4 baby peacocks, and they were basically they had attached themselves to the people that ran the guest house. And every time a human being would walk by them, they would stop. And then when a human being was not in sight, they would just peep and peep and peep and peep. And they were inside at night. To be honest, the noise, they didn't need to add to the noise because it was a very rural area that we were in. And between the large chirping bugs and the frogs and the other birds and the chickens, cock-a-doodle-dooing at 3 o'clock in the morning, we wouldn't have even noticed them peeping, to be honest. But it was beautiful. And Isla Hermosa guest house, I'll show pictures and I'll type it out, and I'll find the link to their stuff, and I'll put it in the description below. Wonderful place. Shelly was great. Unfortunately, I don't remember the name of the gentleman. That's awful. But I've only really talked to Shelly on Twitter. And she's posting links saying how much, Vieques needs a hospital. They have been without a hospital for an exorbitant amount of time, and they need a hospital pretty badly. So, because there's no hospital. I mean, you get injured, there's a place where they can triage you, but then you have to be flighted basically to Puerto Rico. So, speaking of Puerto Rico, specialty coffee, Alcomina. Just the best smell. I've been sitting here smelling this thing and loving every minute of it. Oh, that's just enough. That's just enough, really. Oh, and it's the perfect temperature. I let it sit just long enough. So much sweetness and not a lot of acidity. It's just like that perfect balance. I mean, there's acidity, but there's just this like perfect balance between sweetness and acidity. And the bitterness is incredibly low, except for the normal bitterness that is coffee. You know, sometimes coffee can get really bitter. Oh, but this is just delicious. Oh my gosh. I can't stop. I can't stop because A, it tastes good, and B, it's the correct temperature. It's the best temperature to drink at. So hey, since the unfortunate part about this zipper, which I'm looking at it now, I may have screwed up. Yeah, no, I did that. I totally did that. That has nothing to do with the bag and how it was processed. I did that. I didn't realize that the zipper was down here. I thought the zipper was back here and it didn't get sliced. So this is on me. I did that. So my apologies to everyone involved. You did it right. I did not. Let's see if I can get this sticker off. Ooh, odds are good. Odds are great. All right, I'm gonna stick you on here loosely so we know what you are. And I will go back to you much often. So yeah, you just press this down, removes all of the air, stays nice and sealed, and keeps it a little bit fresher. Probably not as fresh as this would have, but I totally screwed that up, so. Now put you right here. You wonderful, wonderful coffee. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Take care. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.